Alright guys, we got some fun stuff coming up. Like and subscribe. Gonna be blasting these things out. Also keep an eye out, we got some merch coming up. Some sick merch coming up. Make sure you're following along for that. Keep an eyes peeled. So I got some fight news. I got some fun fight news. I don't have the date confirmed yet, but I can tell you this. I'm gonna rematch with Brandon Davis, this time for the Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA first ever Bantamweight Championship. You're looking at the first ever Gamebred Bareknuckle Bantamweight champ right here. If you don't know, Brandon and I fought about 6 years ago. He was my UFC debut. We fought and opened up the show at UFC 236 in Atlanta, Georgia, which was headlined by Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier. The co-headliner was the fight of like the year. It was Israel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum. So me and Brandon have a little bit of a past. He beat me that fight, obviously. He choked me out in the second round, which was a crazy fight. At that point of that fight, I was 4-0 on the local scene. I had only had 4 fights. I had made my professional MMA debut around 9 months before that fight. And I was fighting, honestly, a bunch of tomato cans. Brandon Davis, however, he had a bunch of fights at 145. He had already fought Yair Rodriguez. Oh, not Yair. Yeah, no, Zabit, Magomed Sharipov. He fought Zabit. He had like 3 or 4 fights or something like that in the UFC at the time that we fought. So needless to say, that was a massive, massive step up in competition. Honestly, I was just mowing the lawn, just beating all the guys up. Just all these dudes that I was fighting locally, I was just waxing. Wasn't even close. Never got even touched. The first time I ever got punched in the face in any kind of fight setting was against Brandon Davis. I had never been rocked, which Brandon Davis rocked me in that fight. It was a sick fight. It was a great learning experience. Like I said, I had only been fighting professionally about 9 months. And yeah, it was a tough test. It was a sick fight. It was super fun. I'm gonna do a little breakdown of this fight right now. I'll be having the fight be playing in the background. And just kind of walk you through like the things that I was seeing in this fight. And yeah, it's crazy, man. This was 6 years. I'm 30 years old now. So I was 24 years old when we fought. That was a fucking crazy fight, man. That was a crazy fight. There was a lot of good things that happened. There was a lot of bad things that happened. But it was a great fight, and it's all love for Brandon Davis. We've had a history, obviously. I just fought one of his boys, in Jason Knight. He's a cool dude, super awesome dude. It's gonna be another great fight. This time with no gloves, like I said, for the first ever Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA Bantamweight champ or Bantamweight belt. It's gonna be a fucking sick fight. But here we go. This is crazy, man. Look at that baby face, bro. 24 years old. So he was a little bit taller than me. He was about an inch taller than me. We're built the same though, both like long, like lanky dudes. I have an inch reach advantage on him, but like I said, it's the same shit. He fights nice and tall. He's gonna be there the whole time. Yeah. So this was my UFC debut, man. Hearing Bruce Buffer announce my name was like the wackiest, wild experience. Right before we were about to walk out, I'm fucking whatever, getting ready. And I look over to my coaches like Joe Lozon and Gregor Bello. Joe Lozon and Gregor Bello. I was like, yo, Bruce Buffer's about to announce my name, dude. This is fucking lit. And they're like, dude, focus. You can see my face right now. I'm fucking beaming, cheesing. Thing was crazy. Yeah, nuts, dude, nuts. I was plus 145, dog. Going into that fight, I didn't feel like I was a massive underdog. Going into that fight, I realized that I definitely was the underdog. I don't feel like I was rushed into the UFC, but I kind of was rushed into the UFC. But when the call comes, you're not going to say no to it. I felt that I was 100% prepared. I felt that I was ready. I was already getting ready for it. So I had about 3-ish weeks notice to get ready for this fight, but it didn't really matter. I had a fight scheduled for, it was like probably 2 weeks after this fight. So I had a full camp. There's no excuse about short notice or any of that bullshit. I was ready. I was in shape. I was prepared. I felt great. Everything was awesome. I don't feel like the skill discrepancy was that far off. I feel like I was right there with him and competing with him, as you'll see in this. But yeah, to give a little bit of background, this was technically a short notice fight, but I don't even really say that because I was in a camp already. I was already like 6 weeks into a camp, so I had an 8-week camp to get ready for Brandon. Well, I had an 8-week camp to get ready for a fight. But it just so happened I ended up fighting Brandon Davis instead of another local guy that I was getting ready for. I remember looking across the cage. I was like, holy shit, this is actually the craziest thing, because when I was fighting on local fights, the cage is much smaller, and in the UFC, that cage is huge. I felt like I needed fucking binoculars to see my opponent. It was crazy, and like feeling the lights that the projection of the lights going onto the canvas, and how sticky the canvas was, and just everything. It was such a wild thing. I remember when I first got in the cage and circling around, I was like looking at Daniel Cormier, looking at Joe Rogan. I was like, holy fuck, this is like the real show now. This is insane. I believe Brandon had like some roots in Atlanta or Georgia or something. There was something about having some like people in Atlanta, or him getting on the card. I could be entirely wrong, but I believe he had some roots in this fight. So coming out and getting ready for this fight, I knew that Brandon would be a stationary target. Brandon had a fantastic clinch game. He had great leg kicks. He had okay punches, okay defense. But the things that I was really concerned about, not concerned about, that I was paying mind to, were the leg kicks, number one, in the clinch game. I knew that I probably had better wrestling than him. I knew that I probably had better movement than him, and maybe a little bit better technical ability than him. But Brandon is extremely durable, has great leg kicks, and is always in the fight regardless of the circumstance. So I was not taking him lightly, and I was prepared to get into like a real firefight, in which that's exactly what happened. So we came out, we touched gloves, and I knew right away that I had to get this motherfucker out of there fast, because I didn't know how long my gas tank was gonna last, right? Because like I said, this was my 5th professional fight. I had never gotten out of like the 2.5 minute mark in any of my fights, pro or amateur. So I knew that I should be a little bit more conservative, but I said, fuck that, we're gonna throw caution into the wind, we're just gonna go crazy for as long as we can. So right away, touch gloves, meet him in the middle of the cage, he throws a leg kick, which was entirely expected. And then I threw a big right hand and barraged him, threw a crazy amount of punches and tried to stay in his face. Brandon did an awesome fucking job, which you'll see later in this fight. Another example of this. But Brandon was doing a great job. When I was lunging and throwing big right hands, he was meeting me up the middle with that knee, which was fucking an amazing read by Brandon. That was a perfect read by Brandon. And after I threw this barrage of punches, and how he reacted to it, how he stayed so calm, that was the point where I realized, okay, this is the next level now. These guys are different. These guys are prepared. Right, he had just fought, like I said, he had just fought Zabit Magomedsharipov. So he didn't give a fuck about anybody named Randy Costa, or Randy Costa was going to throw at him. He's very calm and composed the entire time. It was just a great veteran fight by Brandon. Another leg kick, chopping my legs out, just as expected. But what I was trying to do is I was trying to keep my head off the center line and meet him in the middle and crash him. Which is why you see my head movement go crazy side to side. I realized that I was being very wild because it was just my 5th fight, like I said. But the things that I was trying to do were the right things to do in that moment. However, I think that the nerves definitely got to me, and my lack of experience definitely got to me, because everything was super rushed. Whereas if I stayed a little bit more calm, maybe picked my shots a little bit more, I would have found the target. I was connecting with him with a lot of shots, but he was able to withstand a lot of them and block most of them, just because it was so crazy. And yeah, he just did a fantastic job of staying cool, calm, and collected. See, that clinch right away, he blasted me with that knee. I knew it was going to be a problem. I remember going in for the takedown. I was never concerned about him taking me down. I believed in my wrestling defense. Still to this day, I have a 100% takedown defense. So I wasn't at all concerned with him wrestling me. What I think he was trying to do here is I think he was just trying to get my muscles inflamed and kind of slow me down. Again, he was doing a great job in the clinch. I was really looking off for that elbow. I know he has great knees and great elbows, so I wanted to spend as little as time in the clinch as I could. Back in the center, you can see me now much slower and calm down, picking my shots more. This was a great head kick read. So because Brandon wasn't doing his moving around so much, I knew that if I could change the angle on him and hide my stance switch, I was going to be able to find a home for that left high kick. And I did throw that left high kick, and it landed where it was intent, but Brandon did a great job of getting his hand up there last minute and able to block that shot. I think that shot would have been a money shot. kudos to Brandon. Great read by Brandon. Great job staying calm by Brandon. He's calling me back on. I remember when he was calling me back on. I'm like, dude, this motherfucker's crazy, bro. I had never fought anybody like that. Like I said, prior to this fight, I touch a guy and they fall down. This guy took everything right away and was still calling me on. And I remember just breathing. I was like, holy shit, we got a fight on our hands. And we're only about 1 minute and 20 seconds in. So I'm switching my stance again, just trying to download data and see what he's going to do. Caught me with a great right hand there. Didn't really do too much, but I was aware of it. See, I was getting great reads with Brandon, but he was just one step ahead of me. His experience was just... You can hear the commentators talking about it too. The experience that was a clear discrepancy between the two of us. He was doing a great job at just controlling the pace of the fight with his experience. Staying in the clinch, separating, choosing when he wants the clinch to be and how long he wanted to be in that clinch. Just a great veteran fight by Brandon.
Yeah, Costa's doing a good job, but right now, he's getting clinched up by Davis. He's taking some big shots, but he's doing some really nice combinations. Nice jab there by Costa. Nice uppercut to the body.
Another knee. See, this, he did such a good job throwing these knees. Again, chop that leg kick, chop that. So now you can see Brandon starting to collect the reads on me just because I was so herky-jerky from the beginning. He withstood that first barrage of 2.5 minutes. And now he's going to start moving in on me. But I'm still in the fight. I haven't moved. I'm still offensive. I'm still connecting with big shots. I'm still hurting him. I believe that every single punch that I threw that landed did damage to him. Like, for sure did damage to him. I just couldn't find the button. And I don't think he's been knocked out even still to this day. This dude is tough as nails. The commentators are saying that I mean Joe Rogan, kept saying that, repeated over and over again through the commentary, that I had the problem with my knee. There's no problem with my knee. There never was a problem with my knee, and there certainly wasn't a problem with my knee in this fight. That was just the unorthodox, crazy movement that I do that really doesn't make sense, and it's probably a style that he had never seen. But I assure you, there was no damage at all whatsoever to my knee, period. And the leg kicks didn't slow me down or do anything that would have even caused any type of damage. It's just the way that I move. Another leg kick by Brandon. He's doing such a great job finding leg kicks. He rocks me coming up over here in this exchange. I remember there was one point where he connected me. It was coming up soon where he connected me. And I was like fucking 6 Brandon Davises. Like, rocked me. And there was like 6 of them at one time. I was like, oh, I just got to aim for the fucking one that's in the middle. Like, what the fuck, dude? But he kept doing such a good job at threatening that knee. It really made me question and really think and set up my big right hand that I was trying to throw. Because at any time, he could just place that thing up the middle and I would have had a hard night. Landed a beautiful same side head kick. I got into that switch stance. I was collecting reads off of him. So every time that I switched the stance, I kept throwing just the left kick, just the left kick, just the left kick. And on this exchange right here at about a minute and 10 seconds with left in the round, I threw a left hand in front of it first. He tried blocking the left hand and I landed the head kick clean. Unfortunately, it was at the end of my foot, so it didn't do any damage to him. It caused a reaction out of the crowd in the commentary, and it was a great shot, but it didn't do any damage at all. I just needed that one more inch. Again, he closed the range with that clinch, waves me back on like a psychopath, and we're back in the center fighting.
Costa's still fighting at the same exact pace, too. He had to slow down.
So the commentary is saying I'm fighting at the same exact pace, and see, this is where he rocked me. I do a little dance move, I smile, and then I'm like, oh fuck, now I have to close it. I close the clinch, get against the wall, we're safe at this point. I still had to worry about the knees and elbows. An elbow he just tried fighting off right there. But I was doing a really good job at making it so he couldn't throw those elbows. My hand position, my arm position, and my underhooks were always in the right position. I was constantly covering the elbows, so I didn't have to worry about it. He was doing great with the knees, but there was never any elbows that were connecting with me. So I got some blood coming out of my nose now, like you hear from the commentary. It's off the jab. Brandon's doing a great job finding his jab. Now he realizes things are starting to slow down for me, and he's pushing the pace on me. Like I said, man, this was just a great fight that Brandon fought. Using his experience, man. I felt like he was so calm and so chill, and everything was so fast and so crazy for me. It was just massive respect and kudos to Brandon for being able to fight at that pace and staying so calm. It was just a fantastic job by him. All right, coming to the second round. I remember in between rounds, my coach saying, "Randy, are you tired?" And I said, "No." But that was definitely a blatant lie. I was fucking exhausted, but I just wanted to keep fighting. Coming out to the second round. So we knew coming out to the second round that Brandon was going to walk forward, he's going to push the pace, and he's going to be have a much higher volume than he had in the first round. So I believe that I won the first round because I had more effective shots. He did buzz me a little bit, but I had more effective shots. I was controlling the fight. I was landing a lot of clean shots, and I was dictating the pace. Knowing that coming to the second round and how it was starting to fade after that first round, I knew that Brandon, and we knew that Brandon was going to start pushing the pace, being much more aggressive, increasing the volume, and trying to take me out in this round, which that's exactly what he ended up doing. Come on the second round, touch gloves in the middle. All respect. Throws a big high kick off the beginning. I get out of the way of it. I catch him with another big right hand, but he does so well at slowing everything down, grabbing the clinch, slowing me down, recollecting himself, clearing the cobwebs. It was a fantastic job. If there was a time for me to finish the fight in the second round, it was right there. I think he knows that. I think everybody knows that. He did a great job at controlling me, keeping me in the clinch, collecting the cobwebs. Now as we're about to split, you're gonna see him start to increase the volume and the pace again. I pull away, he's jabbing, now he's pissed off, now he's just rushing forward. Now he's completely increasing the volume. Now that knee right there, at 4 minutes and 9 seconds left in the round, was perfect. I was leaning forward, he was rushing in, I thought I was gonna be able to clinch up with him, but he pulled back a tiny bit, ripped the knee up the middle, caught me, and I remember it felt like I couldn't breathe, and I felt like there was like oil going through my veins and my blood. I was just stuck. I was like, ugh. I was like, I can't breathe, I can't do shit. Fuck, we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem. I'm trying to clinch them, just not gonna work. I go in for a really sloppy takedown. He defends perfectly. He ends up taking my back right here. And then this is gonna be the end of the fight. He sinks the rear naked choke. I had nothing left in the gas tank. And you get the tap right here. That was a fantastic fight. I think he knows that I was there, even with only 4 fights experience. I think I got the respect from him that night. Yeah, that was just a great veteran fight by Brandon. I thought I had him in the beginning. I thought I had him in the beginning of the second round. He did such a fantastic job of controlling everything and collecting and staying calm and deflecting everything and keeping the fight where he wants to keep it. Massive respect, massive kudos to Brandon. I'm going to get that one back. Got that fight coming up soon, this time with no gloves. You saw this first fight right here. Now imagine that shit with no gloves. I think the damage is going to be much more apparent, right? With the gloves, you can kind of withstand a little bit more. Nothing's getting marked up. I feel like I was hitting him whenever I wanted to hit him. I feel like I connected with all my big shots. I think now with the experience that I've had 6 fights in the UFC against much higher level opponents than I had when we first met. I feel like I'm right there. I feel like I'm gonna find him. I feel like this is gonna be a great fight. I feel like this is gonna be my fight. I feel like and I know I'm gonna be the first ever Gamebred Bareknuckle Bantamweight champ. All we have to do is get it done. It's signed. We don't have that date yet, like I said. This fight's gonna be bananas. He gave me my first loss. He was the first person to ever hit me in a fight. He was the first person to ever finish me in a fight. He was the first person to choke me. I'm certainly not going to say this one's personal, right? Because I like Brandon. I'd like to consider Brandon like a friend, I guess, even. Maybe not a friend, but like a friend. I'm cool with him. I shake his hand whenever I see him. It's all love. We stay connected. I've wished him luck in every single one of his fights since we fought. So it's certainly not personal, but as a man, this is one that I want to get back. And now we put some high stakes on it. This is a big fight. I've won 2 fights since being cut by the UFC. One at 145 pounds, which I got the knockout in the first round. And then I just fought Bareknuckle MMA again. I came up from 135. I beat Jason Knight, who was just on the Ultimate Fighter, at 155. We fought at 145. I cleaned him out in the first round. It was one of his best buds. This is a big one, man. This is a big one. We get a big win with this one. We have options. We have options, but we got to get through this one first. Stay tuned. The first ever Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA Bantamweight belt on the line. You're looking at the first ever winner of the Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA belt. Yeah, stay tuned. Like and subscribe. I appreciate everyone that stayed watching this. Keep your eyes peeled. We got more videos coming. We got merch coming. We got the official fight news coming. It's a beautiful thing. I appreciate all the love. Stay tuned. We got more coming soon.